Hello guys and welcome to this new video of redditors telling incredible stories about how they discovered psychopaths across their paths. These 10 stories were picked through 1303 comments and we thought they deserved to be highlighted. But first, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more. Let's go. Was my mother's ex-boyfriend. Used to be a great guy, even raised me like one of his daughters by doing stuff like paying for my school fees and buying stuff for me. Don't know what happened, but his relationship with my mother turned sour and shit went crazy. He locked us in the house and locked the fridge, so my mother and I just lived in my bedroom and had to buy a fridge for there and live there. Would turn off the hot water in the morning and lock the gate, so I would have to bath in freezing cold water in winter and have to climb over the walls to get to school, and when she got a court order to get him out of the house, he would stalk her and constantly ram his car into the gate until the early hours of the morning. I think once he snuck into the yard and smeared chicken blood all over our door. All of this in a span of 2 months. I'm at the till, a coworker come near me, he says, "Look there, I just see a mother and their 2 daughters, he adds, "I would fuck all of them at once." Ages were probably around 35, 14, 10. I had tons of reason to hate the guy, but that day I knew I had found the best reason to hate him. Actually left my job soon after just so I didn't have to work with him. I used to be a social worker. Had a client that I knew something was off about. He gave everyone the creeps, especially the women in our office. Part of my job required obtaining background checks. We got one on him and it turns out he was arrested for being a cat serial killer. Guy was stealing cats from his neighborhood and killing them in different ways. He stabbed some of them, threw some against walls, broke their necks, etc. And the police found them in his freezer. Reddit just looked him up. He was arrested recently for threatening a woman with a knife. A man who lived in my freshman dorm complex at BYU was a natural leader, very charismatic and charming. He went on a Mormon mission to Honduras, and when he came back after 2 years, we bumped into each other and he invited me to dinner. At dinner, he told me a funny mission story about an elderly widow in Honduras. This woman's little pet dog was sick, and he told her that he'd bring the dog to a vet to be healed. Instead, he euthanized the dog. Shocked, I assumed that the vet had determined that the dog was ill beyond help and compassionately put them down, still not okay without the owner's permission. No, this missionary snapped the dog's neck with his bare hands in the yard outside the widow's house. He was chuckling as he told me as if this was a charming, relatable story. He told the woman that he brought the dog to Jesus. This man seemed absolutely normal, no indication whatsoever that he would do something like this. He should have been sent home from his mission dishonorably. Old county worker used to have anger issues and would often stab chef knives into the tables. Few years later murdered his grandma. Now he's serving life in prison. I still get the creeps thinking I worked alone with him. When my ex told me that he knew he was abusing me, and that he manipulated people and situations so that no one would believe me. Saying that everyone would blame me for staying and trying to fix things. That piece of shit had the gall to laugh while he was saying it. I couldn't leave because we lived in a tiny rural town. He made me put my car in his name, to save money on the title. But actually he'd threatened to call and report the car stolen if I ever left. And my family wouldn't come get me. From what I hear, his life is pretty shitty nowadays, so that's nice. There was a disturbed boy at my primary school, notoriously beaten by his violent father. His body was always covered with marks from being hit with a belt. Someone brought their pet turtle to school. The boy pulled off his limbs, then pushed the knife into the shell where the head was hiding. He pepper sprayed the class full of students without the warning. He covered the entrance-exit holes of the bird nests with the baby birds inside, so they died of starvation, unable to leave the nest. He eventually hanged himself, on the garden tree, just outside his parents' bedroom, so when they opened the curtains in the morning, first thing they saw was him, dead, hanging. He was 12 when he killed himself. There's this guy in my uni, freshman year, same class. He was kind of one of those weird kids, sitting alone, didn't talk much. One day my friends and I heard he said someone that he was thinking about taking his life. We talked to him, took him out to party, convinced him to talk to a counselor, and even told one of our professors. Turns out he was abused by his parents, not physically but mentally. His father used to tell him if he doesn't score a certain number on tests he would throw him out of the house. I'm from India, so we stay with our parents, and not pay for his college and stuff, and many other things. He also said he was very poor. But he started doing well. Then COVID hit and we all went home. I got a call from him that he got very sick and that the left half of his body got paralyzed and he is in the hospital. He said his dad is forcing him to take college online tests in those conditions and telling him if he doesn't score well he won't pay for his medical bills and throw him out of the house even though he was paralyzed. I talked to him for hours and told him that if he need us we were all there for him and just read my best to support him emotionally. Post-COVID, few months later we met in uni again outside his dorm. I asked him about his paralysis and he said he still can move his left hand and specifically said he can't make a fist while showing us his still paralyzed left hand. Next thing I know he turns around to go to his dorm and makes a fist with that very hand and marches away. My friend and I stand there shocked, not understanding WTF had just happened. Note: right after he said his dad was poor, a few weeks later he buys a really expensive mobile phone and a few months later shows us pictures of his new house, which was pretty big, and by the way we study in the most costly private university in India. But we thought maybe it was something else and wanted to believe him cause he just looked so sad all the time and we wanted to help him. I watched a recording of a West Virginian politician who was being interviewed on a news channel after he compared the LGBTQ+ to the KKK. The reporter asked him how he would react if his children one day came to him and confessed they were homosexual. His response was that he would treat them to a day out before, seeing if they know how to swim. The reporter asked him to clarify what he meant, but he just repeated that he'd see if they knew how to swim. He said it so calmly and had this horrific smile plastered to his face. I remember getting chills and feeling sick to my stomach the first time I watched it because of how nonchalantly he blatantly threatened to drown his kids were they to come out as homosexual. That man is genuinely a monster. Edit. The politician's name is Eric Porterfield. This is not on my main because I don't want her to find it. Ever. Girl in worked, scary eyes, big stares, no blinking, she was constantly lying. About everything. To start with I thought it was just an attention thing, reasonably harmless, just exaggerating a bit to make herself a bit more interesting. Then it ramped up to lying to other staff members. Generally to make me, the deputy manager, look like a power-hungry control freak. I would find a member of staff doing something either totally unnecessary, the exact opposite of what was needed, or breaking health and safety. I would have to tell them to stop immediately, this is dangerous or whatever, and ask why they were doing it. Oh, big eyes, said you left a note last night telling her to get me to do it today. Me livid, why would I ever endorse this? But it was on the note. Had to point out that they were on a middle shift the day before and I obviously wasn't in. Ill child. Reported Big Eyes to management. She weaseled out of it by crying, saying she got rid of the note. She must have been mistaken, she was having a difficult time as her mum had just started chemotherapy. Yay, her mum was not ill. In the next 2 months, first split with boyfriend, then found out pregnant, then had a miscarriage, in 5 minutes in the staff toilets, went to hospital for 3 hours, came back in saying they just found she had cervical cancer. While treating the miscarriage, it kept escalating. I started thinking I was mad. I couldn't see how she thought this would play out. I know she was lying. Unbelievable brazen actions. Most of the staff totally taken in. She full-on lied to our cleaners and one of the main managers that I had come in early. I forgot what shift I was on, and commandeered her open saying how mad she was about it. Cleaner came over to oblivious me and told me what she said. Fuming I was. Had to explain I had been about to turn around and leave to go and have a coffee somewhere, and she asked me to swap because she wanted to go to Primark while it was quiet instead of after work and how my shift would be better for her. When she came back and I asked her straight out why she lied to the cleaners. Oh, I didn't, they must have misunderstood. I am just grumpy with period pains. She turned around to find both cleaners staring at her. Acted like nothing had happened although they heard every word. In the next 2 months, first split with boyfriend, then found out pregnant, then had a miscarriage, in 5 minutes in the staff toilets, went to hospital for 3 hours, came back in saying they just found she had cervical cancer. While treating the miscarriage, it kept escalating. I started thinking I was mad. I couldn't see how she thought this would play out. I know she was lying. Unbelievable brazen actions. Most of the staff totally taken in. She full-on lied to our cleaners and one of the main managers that I had come in early. I forgot what shift I was on, and commandeered her open saying how mad she was about it. Cleaner came over to oblivious me and told me what she said. Fuming I was. Had to explain I had been about to turn around and leave to go and have a coffee somewhere, and she asked me to swap because she wanted to go to Primark while it was quiet instead of after work and how my shift would be better for her. When she came back and I asked her straight out why she lied to the cleaners. Oh, I didn't, they must have misunderstood. I am just grumpy with period pains. She turned around to find both cleaners staring at her. Acted like nothing had happened although they heard every word. The arrogance though. That is the psychopath coming through. Total belief in themselves and everything is about winning and becoming number one. Getting there in whatever way works. No shame, no guilt, not a scrap of conscience. Manager she complained to didn't have much to do with her but has large bullshit detectors. He looked at her list and then did some CCTV digging from the day before at a time mentioned he knew she was lying at least about that. So he went to LM, explained what had been said and gave her the list for a right to reply. She was dumbfounded and very upset, both because she could see the lies but also where the truth had been tweaked slightly so things were slightly muddled and either side could be telling the truth. LM went with manager and sat with Big Eyes for a showdown. Big Eyes was not expecting this. According to LM, the lies on the were gone through and she was proved a liar. Then she started on how underappreciated she was. How she was made to do menial tasks and I and LM didn't. She was a staff member among others, above her 2 supervisors, above them me, above me LM. Chain of command works. She just hated being on the bottom rung. They suggest she takes some time off and that she would be put in touch with company counseling. She went out playing the martyr. 2 days later she says she has got a new job, chucks her resignation across and made disparaging remarks about pretty much every member of staff and left. She didn't work her notice because it was decided that would be the best for everyone. End of psychopath tale. Not quite. A couple of further days after I got back, me and LM working. I turn around and there she is. Big smiles, chummy, how was your holiday type stuff. I was really confused. She came with a purpose. She just started telling LM that she may get a call later, because she had put her down as her personal reference. As we have been friends for so long. Absolute nutcase. Those were the incredible stories about how Redditors met psychopaths. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more. You can also share on the comment section below your experiences related to how you met psychopaths in your life. See you.